everybody, it's Tyler here at Vextrals. We're checking in with the legendary Purdue SIGBots coming out of Purdue University here. These twin robots they have here are absolutely phenomenal. There's a lot of cool little hidden secrets that you're going to learn about here after Vextrals when this comes out, especially with their lever design as well too. So we can't wait to preview more about this, some of the awesome aestheticness that goes into this, and a little bit more about the strategy here on Pits and Parts. Heidner, let's talk more about strategy here behind the robot itself, how you guys got it here at Vextrals. Talk to me more about it.
Yeah, of course. So one of the big things we sat down and did when we were designing this robot was we just kind of figured out, like, how can we win Auton as consistently as possible? The way that we figured that out was being able to dump 10 into the long goal, and also being able to kind of adapt our autos to what the other team's running. So essentially, if they were able to block off the long goal before we were able to get there, we can adapt and go to the middle. So that was one of the key constraints of this robot, was having 10 blocks. The problem with that, though, is two things. First of all, you need to be able to select the number of blocks that you have. And second of all, the game's developed to where, a lot of times you're only scoring 2-3 blocks at a time. And then at the very end of the match, you want to dump 10 blocks. So that's kind of where the big part of this robot came out, which is what we call tip tech, or the extending lever design. And so the idea here is basically, if Jack can run the robot, it's a little bit hard to see inside of here, but there are two linear slides on this lever. The first one is passively banded out, so that at any point in the ball path, the lever can just extend out, and the lever will be out, and it'll know where it is, and it'll be at the right distance from the radially from the inside. The second part is the tip. So what happens is that the tip of the lever can extend out into any part of the ball path and essentially choose how many blocks we're scoring. One of the other cool parts about this ball path is the way that our ballpark works, and then also ultimately the way that we're working with D-score and the wing, which I know Bobby can touch a little bit more on.
Before we get to our next segment, we'd like to thank the following. The Robotics Education and Competition Foundation provides fantastic programs for students from elementary school all the way through college. These include VEX, aerial drone competition, online challenges, JROTC, girl-powered, scholarships, certifications, and so much more. To discover these exciting opportunities, visit recf.org and get connected.
Yeah, so Heitner mentioned that we wanted to be able to win auto, and one of the ways that we do that is with this extending linear slide, right here. And this purpose is not only for driver control, where we can D-score balls really quickly, but it also just takes up space. So if we put 10 balls in the long goal, and this thing takes up 3 of them, well, it takes up 2.6, but that's enough to round to 3, then they can only put in 2, which basically guarantees that we win. We've done the calculations on it, and if we get all 10 in the long goal and this is out, there's nothing that the opponent can do, even with their mid goals, even if they score all the balls, in order to beat us in Auton. The problem, of course, is, well, you're not going to be able to get all 10 balls because they're going to run the 4-ball wing, and then you're only going to be able to get in a couple. And for that, we are going to run an adaptive auto. And what that means is we're going to put in as many as we can into the long goal. And then we're going to use torque detection on the lever to detect that we can't put any more in. Then we're going to fire Doris into there and try to get as many balls in as possible, push in, and then put more in if we can. And if we can't, and they have a strong hold on the wing, then we split the balls and put the rest in mid. And if this all works correctly, we should win Auton every time.
Looking and coming in here to Vextrals real quick, from that strategy standpoint, have you always kind of had that initial strategy coming in, or is this something you realize after SIGBots, that sort of thing?
Recently, Vex games have trended more towards Auton bonus being really big. Last year in high stakes, I believe that it determined every match prior to Tier 3 hang, and this year we wanted to go into the season with that same mentality because we don't like having to come back in driver control. Why would you have to do that if you could start up and make the opponent have to come back? And especially with how volatile the game is, no one's holding on to control bonuses. At least we're filming this video prior to Worlds, so if somebody has something, maybe they can, but the control bonuses are getting swapped out the entire match. So pre-match setup is not nearly as critical this game as it is in past years. So then your objective of the Auton period should obviously be to get the only thing that's going to be constant, which is the bonus. So that is the only thing that we're trying to do in the Auton. Just get the 10-point bonus, and then that will help us for the rest of the match.
Jack, what are some other aspects of this robot you want to highlight?
Well, I guess we can start with the ballpark. So as it was alluded to earlier, on the underside of our robot, we have this mechanism for parking right here. You can see it. It's on linear slides, and we can fire it like that, and that extends the ball down onto the floor and raises the whole robot off the ground. That's kind of half of the park mechanism. Sorry, I've got to reset the lever here so I can show you other things. Don't want to click that button by mistake. We can demonstrate that now as well. So then if we fire it, it'll pop us up off the ground like that. And if you can imagine that we're on the park barrier, we'd be fully off the ground due to these sleds that we've designed, which are the other half of our ballpark strategy, which allows us, as Bobby always says, to ram into the park barrier as fast as we possibly can. And these flat walls underneath here will catch us and prevent us from ever going into the park zone, straighten us, and then we kind of ride up over the lip, and it sort of like latches onto the park barrier really fast, and it doesn't require precise driving. So if there's 1 second left in the match and you just hurl yourself at the park barrier with your dying last seconds of voltage before the field turns you off, 9 times out of 10, these will grab you onto the park barrier, and then on a timer, we extend this at the end of the match no matter what, and then that should, in theory, allow us to park. And the reason we wanted to have a ballpark, as opposed to any other parking mechanism, is having no robot inside the center, like at risk of touching the other robot and knocking it off, is the most consistent way we found to double park. And it also is far more consistent for skills, specifically for programming skills, than trying to figure out when your robot is like fully into the park zone, because as soon as you go over the barrier, your odometry is no longer reliable because it's come off the ground. Speaking of odometry, we have 45 degree 2-wheel odometry. It was very difficult to fit that around the ballpark, so it's very tight, as you can see here. They're using the VEX rotation sensors because we had just endless trouble with the VEX ADI expanders, and that we were so done with dealing with them that we had to design our whole robot around just 8 ADI ports, which is actually the reason that the tip on the lever, as was mentioned earlier, and this trapdoor bar here, this standoff, are on the same solenoid because we did not have enough ports to have separate solenoids for them. Let's see, what other things can we talk about? Our wing is pretty standard. The only not standard part about it is that it has to fold down to be in 15 inches. This slot lets this wing fold down closer to the piston, and then the piston itself folds down on an over-centering mechanism, and then just firing this up once and then collapsing it kind of muscles the whole thing up, and then this lock here clicks into place. And then the last thing I'll say is we have a color sort mechanism that we're really proud of built into the ball path right here. I can't actually make it fire, it's all automated, but there's this ramp here with an embedded color sort sensor inside of it. When it sees the wrong color ball, it will extend, and at the same time, this door retracts up and lets the balls just roll right on out the side. And then once we see the correct color again, we close it off and continue intaking.
Purdue SIGBots, thank you so much. We know you got a match coming up here, so we're going to get you out to your first one. We wish you best of luck that. And of course, best of luck here at Bexfield as well, too. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to stay up to date on future fun videos. The Robotics Education and Competition Foundation provides fantastic programs for students from elementary school all the way through college. These include VEX, aerial drone competition, online challenges, JROTC, girl-powered, scholarships, certifications, and so much more. To discover these exciting opportunities, visit recf.org and get connected.